For years, the world of gaming has been at war. A war between superiority over who is best. The victor would, supposedly, stand triumphant over those who had lost, and claim champion above all. But like all great wars, the struggle is ongoing. The end is not in sight. The battles are frequent, often without a victor, and many have fallen without an offspring to take over. For this month, we take a look at all the warring factions and let you decide who reigns supreme overall. Welcome to War. The Console Wars. This is the Gaming Wildlife Foundation. This week, we look at the oldest competitor in the console wars, Nintendo. Back in the 1970s, Nintendo shifted focus from being a playing card company to making electronic games. Their first venture was in 1974 distributing the Magnavox Odyssey to the Japanese. They started making their own hardware in 1977 with arcade games and a small LCD handheld called Game & Watch. It wasn't until the video game crash of 1983 that Nintendo was able to burst out onto the scene and restart the world of video games with their first console, the Famicom Entertainment System, known as the Nintendo Entertainment System in the United States. Of course, unlike the modern-day Xbox and PlayStation consoles, Nintendo geared their system to be more of a family entertainment machine that exclusively plays video games, as opposed to being a general entertainment machine that sometimes plays video games.
Wow, you just love hearing yourself talk, don't you?
I'm sorry, is this your show? Because I thought it would be interesting for people to know the history of the console before we got into the actual gamer themselves.
If this was my show, we would skip all of the annoying crap and get straight to the damn point.
Well, we know the history of the console, but what about the gamer? Well, for more on this subject, we go to the head of the University of Gaming's Nintendo Studies Department, Rose Polutina.
Nintendo gamers have been around longer than any other faction in the console wars. This has given the group a smug sense of superiority over the others.
I'm guessing that's going to be a common theme.
It might.
Fun.
With Nintendo being such an old gaming company, they've had to fight off plenty of contenders to keep the position they're in. Every console that's gone up against Nintendo always uses their own players against them in a rather barbaric fashion. Sega used the phrase "Sega does what Nintendo don't," causing mass riots in early internet chat rooms. PlayStation and Xbox players were the ones who originally coined the phrase "hardcore gamers" to describe their players as opposed to Nintendo's. What many don't realize is that being a Nintendo fan during the early years made you quite the hardcore gamer.
How is that possible? I thought Nintendo used cartoony characters and flashy visuals to make their games family-friendly so they could appeal to the widest audience.
Well, nowadays, yes. But NES titles were notoriously difficult to play back in the era of 8 and 16-bit games. Because Nintendo marketed themselves as a family entertainment system back when it first launched, people thought of it as kid-friendly. Granted, it's difficult to tell what was going on during the 8-bit era, but the games were far from kid-friendly.
So you're telling me video games about cartoony Italian plumbers, King Kong, a little elvish boy, and a mercenary in full armor weren't kid-friendly?
Okay. Take a look at these. They're bright and colorful. You think a parent in the 80s thought too hard about what they let their kid play with? Come on! Lawn darts were still a thing!
I'm surprised children survived the 80s.
Or even managed to reproduce.
This is the point I'm trying to make. Nintendo created the hardcore gamers. They made their first batch of games based off of tropes taken from arcades. Since arcades were built to take as many quarters from kids as humanly possible, everything was made to kill you.
Nintendo created the hardcore gamer?
Sounds about right.
Early NES and SNES games were designed the same way, and the only ones who beat the games were the ones who spent all their time just trying to get through Contra on 3 lives. The only equivalent of that style of game today is either the Dark Souls or Ninja Gaiden series. Who else could beat a challenge that constantly kills you, except someone who is willing to fight the same level over and over without saving?
Just beat Contra.
Oh, splendid.
Anyway, this gives the Nintendo gamers an edge in the console wars.
Unique characters?
Fun games?
Nostalgia.
Oh my god, everyone loves to go on about nostalgia. Hell, there is a reviewer on That Guy with the Glasses that obsesses over everything nostalgic.
You mean the guy the site was named after?
No. That's that guy with the glasses. The other one is named like the Critical Nostalgic or something silly like that.
Think about how Nintendo markets their games. The newer games tend to be rehashes of older games, but set at a much easier difficulty. They're also the one company to have the largest catalog of old games,
which you can download onto the newer consoles.
When a game becomes too easy, or the challenge isn't difficult enough, all a Nintendo gamer has to do is look for an older title on the Virtual Console and
download it.
And another Nintendo gamer is born. Nostalgia, the ultimate weapon.
So they're unstoppable. I mean, nobody can beat nostalgia. It's what drives internet culture.
While Nintendo does possess what appears to be the greatest weapon for longevity, their status as a modern gaming console is easily thwarted by two problems.
Innovation.
Running out of ideas?
Hardware and connectivity. Nintendo systems are fun, but they can't seem to connect gamers together online, and their systems are always several years behind when it comes to graphics.
So is there a system that can capitalize on both top-of-the-line graphics and good internet service?
Here, let me kick your acid, Halo.
We'll see you next week.